Training camp 2024. It was a good one. It was, first of all, it was maybe the best and most comfortable weather I've ever experienced as a player or observer at a Texans July training camp practice, because thunderstorm came through and then it cooled off and it was very nice. The work was crisp. The CJ Stroud throws were accurate. Few things. It's hard to get genuinely excited about a lot of stuff when they're out there in no pads these first 2 days. The first two things, as I thought about it 37 seconds ago, that came to my mind were, one, that Tank Dell looks just as good as he did during minicamp and OTAs. That's no shock, but it was him working with Stefon Diggs. So during punt period, Tank Dell was one of the punt returners. The returners were Des King, Miles Bryant, Steven Sims, Tank Dell, Robert Woods, and I wrote Des King twice for some reason. Those were the punt returners today. But during that punt return period, Stefon Diggs was working with Tank Dell just on some route running stuff, and it looked like he was talking about selling the head fake on a double move. And later in team practice, it was a team or 7-on-7, whatever. Tank Dell dusted somebody on a double move, and I mean he could have done that before Stefon Diggs' arrival, but it was really cool to see Stefon Diggs working one-on-one with Tank Dell off to the side, and then Tank would go out and field a punt. They weren't doing full coverage or anything, so don't worry. Tank's healthy. He's fine. The other thing, and this is going to be silly, given that it's the first day with no pads and no tackling or anything, and it's hard to tell a lot about running backs during training camp in general, but especially with no pads. But with Dameon Pierce specifically, Dameon talked to Sean Pendergast and Clint Sterner after a game last year and really opened up about how hard a time he had adjusting to this system. He'd always been in schemes before where it was, the hole's going to be here, I'm going to run through the hole, and then I'm going to break 18 tackles. The outside zone running and just the zone running scheme in general, it's a lot different, especially the way it's coached with Bobby Slowick. And what I was looking for with Dameon was, okay, one cut and go. Remember from the Gary Kubiak days, zone runs, you got to see the blocking unfold in front of you, see what the defense is doing, make that one cut, that decision, and then hit it. And he had a really nice run during team where he did exactly just that. Very decisive, got vertical very, very quickly. And it's no pads, but with him, it's really going to be about seeing the vision, seeing him have his vision. And that was a good sign. Since we're on the running backs, I'll say Jawar Jordan flashed once on an outside run to the right, and he showed his speed. He's not, at least from watching in college, he's got kind of build-up speed in a way, but he's got that big play potential, because if he sees it right and he can build up speed, especially like you can around the outside, he looked really good on that. The other one, I'll lump him into running back discussion just because I know a lot of you are always intrigued by Ben Skoranek, who the Texans traded for from the Rams, because he'll play fullback at times. They've got him listed as a wide receiver. I saw him split out wide as a wide receiver. He was doing drills with the wide receivers the whole day. The only thing that just made me go, a little bit is that he's number 26, which is an odd number for a receiver. Even as they've loosened up the restrictions on who can wear what number, you don't see a lot of wide receivers wearing 26. He's physically not built like a fullback whatsoever. So I think that if the Texans use him as a fullback or an H-back type or anything, it's going to be a gadget situation, and Skoranek's going to have to make his hay on the special teams. Xavier Hutchinson had a really nice play, just grabbed the ball on a sideline on an intermediate out. That was nice. He beat somebody else in coverage earlier that it escapes me who he beat. But that all looked great. CJ looked awesome. Like CJ, very few miscues. One thing that I did like seeing him work on when he was in the individual period with the running backs is he's very methodical, or very very conscious of executing the fakes properly. He was actually talking to one of the coaches about it. I could see him just kind of asking for tips on it. Not a big deal, and he's always done that before, but it's just more confirmation that these are the little details that matter this year in the run game. Like CJ's involvement and responsibility for the run game is going to be a big thing. I'll get to your questions in a moment. I'll also react to the press conferences as the afternoon goes by. So much content with real fake football right now. Let's see. I'm just going to go down the players that I mentioned. Oh, John Metchie looks good. He looks good. I know we already saw it in minicamp, but he looks good. I was trying to evaluate. I was kind of trying to like do that. You know that thing they do now where they superimpose one video over another one, and you can see, Hunter Brown's throwing motion is the same as Justin Verlander. There was a moment where John Metchie ran an out, and he looks really good, just sinking into his cut when he breaks, and he's very quick and explosive. So for a guy that doesn't have a fast 40 or breakaway speed or anything, that's what he's going to have to be good at. And then Stefon Diggs ran the same route the play later, and I was trying to be as unbiased as possible and filter out any of the potential optimism or anything. But I didn't see a lot of difference. And I'm saying I was impressed with how fast John Metchie did it. I wanted to see if it was as fast as Stefon Diggs. And Diggs just still looks like Stefon Diggs. It's hard to separate that, like in terms of his route running and everything is so pristine. But Metchie looked a lot closer to Stefon Diggs than he would have a couple years ago or last year. So the recovery and everything, this might be the year where it really clicks for him. Let's see. Derek Stingley looked fine. Kamari Lassiter was playing outside. He got beat once on a play. It was a route combo though. They ran a rub, and Lassiter kind of lost track of who was the damn receiver, but he caught back up to him. So that was good to see. It wasn't Lassiter looked fine. I'll pour over everybody else's notes, because you're watching any given play. You can't watch every receiver and every defensive back on every play. But I thought Lassiter looked fine. He was lining up on the outside. So I didn't see him playing in the slot. I'm not saying that he couldn't have, but I just didn't personally see it today. I'm guessing they're just going to try to work him outside. Let's see. Oh, Jawar Jordan, I told you about him. The starting linebackers to begin with were Toa Toa, Azeez Al-Shire, and then Jake Hansen. So I don't know. They might have talked about Christian Harris after practice already, or somebody else has already tweeted about it. I wasn't really watching the linebackers because the inside run stuff and even the pass coverage, it's really hard to see from our vantage point. But that's so far. So like for Henry Toa Toa, this is a big year for him where there's going to be competition with everybody. And he looked like a rookie a lot of times last year. I'm curious to see as we can watch and get more reps during these first few weeks of camp exactly how he looks. Let's see. Kalen Bullock. I did not take note of Kalen Bullock at all today. Kendrick Green and Kenyon Green. I thought in the limited amount of times that I could see them working, I thought they looked fine. There was one bad play where I thought that Kenyon Green might have gotten dusted, but it turns out it was just a bad snap. So Juice Scruggs, what the hell? That's why I'll blame that on Juice Scruggs. I'm not even positive it was Juice Scruggs in there at the moment. Greetings from Germany. Yes. They released Feldarius Payne, which saddens me. Even though I joke about him being my cousin, I watched enough film of him. Like I had to scavenge for film of Feldarius Payne, and I had to watch him play outside linebacker at Nebraska. I had to find grainy YouTube highlights from this past season, and I was intrigued by him. Who knows? He's been banged up a good amount in his career. Had an Achilles tendon tear a couple years ago, but he's very, very undersized. Marcus Harris was a guy that. Wait a second. Yeah, Marcus Harris. My mom's maiden name is Harris. So whenever I say Harris with somebody, Marcus Harris, that dude's built like a brick shit house, and I didn't get to watch him play. I really couldn't see the interior guys all that well at all. I didn't get to see him play much, but I analyzed his physique. Brick shit house, and he's not a heavy guy or anything, so he's got to be kind of a powder keg of a powerful dude and get across the line really quickly. So that was good to see. One step closer to football time in Houston. Hi, football is back. What do the backups look like for depth purposes and future attrition? Off the top of my head, and again, man, it's one day in notepads. I don't want to say anything that people are going to hear and think like, oh, wow, this guy's awesome or this guy sucks. I feel confident in telling you that Stefon Diggs looks just as athletic as he ever has. Tank Dell certainly. When it comes to the backups, I saw both John Metchie and Xavier Hutchinson do good things today. So when it comes to that battle for getting playing time at wide receiver, it would be beyond me to tell you exactly who's in the lead there or not. But Xavier Hutchinson looked good. The defensive lineman, Mario Edwards, I just noticed one time knifing inside on a game and got into the backfield pretty quickly and easily. Oh, Ali Gay. Ali Gay, the only thing I always think with Ali Gay is, man, that dude is tall. And I think he's listed at 6'6", but he's got the effect of looking like he's 6'8". He had a couple plays, again, in no pads, but where he used his length really well in the run game. And a lot of that, without drawing too many conclusions from it, when you have a guy that's got length, you want to be able to see him use that length. And he looks pretty good doing it. They also had him in on punt coverage, so rushing the passer on punt. So they're looking to make use of those incredibly long Manute Bol-like limbs of his. He's not as skinny as Manute Bol, but he's tall. CJ Henderson, Payne, and Janke weren't ready for camp. Janke, I'd have a hard time thinking that one of the Janke identical twins was not ready for camp, but the other one was. I don't know, man. I don't know. Or are you taking that off of? Let me know if you actually saw a report or something. Okay, and I had said I was going to go on after Landry because Landry goes on at 12:30. I'm going to be off by 12:30, so you guys can all watch Landry Locker's YouTube, The Locker Room. Landry is out there, chatted with him today. He is very much enjoying doing all the YouTube stuff. As many of you know, if defensive man play against our offense, if defenses play man against our offense, they're going to get cooked. Yeah. Nico had a nice rep. He got past Stingley. I didn't see the whole play. I just saw him running past Stingley, and CJ overthrew him in the end zone. So it was, first day, don't overreact. But man, it was nice. It was nice on Nico's part. I'm not worried about Derek Stingley, but these are the battles that we got to see today at various times. You saw Derek Stingley. I saw Derek Stingley personally versus Nico. Shit. Who was it versus Tank? Hold on, I've got that note. Tank dusted somebody off the line. Let's see. Hutchinson had a nice catch on an out. Diggs had a couple nice grabs. One where he just caught it, headed towards the sideline, toe tapped, and still it looked like it had to be a toe tap, but he actually managed to stay in bounds. Spiked the football, didn't spike it through the football after that. Tommy Townsend, the punter. I don't know. I didn't think I was going to be able to get over the loss of Bill Burr, but one of the things about him was that his hang time wasn't always that great. He could boot it an Australian mile, but wasn't always a great hang time. Tommy Townsend was sending these things off into space. If space is real, been on YouTube a lot lately. Not so sure about it. That was cool to see. And we already went over who the returners were. Metchie beat Okuda off the line really clean once. And I saw some good plays out of Okuda too, but that was another one where I saw Metchie on that play just released to the inside, and he looked fast. Okuda looked good in trying to recover, but Okuda looked fast. The defensive line, again, without being able to focus in on any one individual, they were working on games a lot, twists, tackle up the field, defensive end comes under. And the offensive line looked like it was doing a pretty good job picking them up. I mean, we know pass protection wasn't as much of an issue as the actual run blocking last year. Tank should never return kicks unless it's the playoffs or something. I don't know, man. You gotta see him when he's out there, though. Have you seen him? I know, but it's football. I mean, there's a guy he's gonna get hit. He's gonna get hit regardless. And you got so many good wide receivers. Just get Tank his touches. Spinach in my tooth. I don't think so. All right, good. If it was, it's gone by now, I think. I just won't look up. Damn it. Okay, hold on a second. That might just be my natural darkening of my teeth. Oh, it's gone. Okay, cool. Okay. Thank you. That would have been one of the fajita vegetables from the burrito I ate. So it was some kind of I went to Chipotle, okay? there's a Chipotle right across the street, and I know what I like. I know it's there, and it's easier. If I could go to an authentic place in walking distance and get back for the live stream on time, I would do it. Trust me. I didn't. You guys got to understand. If I had gone to play nose tackle in a 3-4 defense in any city other than Houston, I would have failed because I was unaware of the avocado and the ensuing guacamole that comes with it. So I went from being like a 295-pound defensive tackle in Jacksonville to like a 320-ish nose tackle, all in the course of like 2 months. Let's see. Match, yes. Can you make videos every day during training camp? That's the plan. Can I? That's we'll see. We'll see. Metchie and Diggs do look alike though. They, in terms of body type and everything, I mean, Diggs is rocked up. Diggs and Joe Mixon. Whoa. Oh, I don't have the. Okay, I'll show it later. Joe Mixon is he's another brick poop house. That dude is built, and I knew that. But today he had his sleeves rolled up and everything because he looks compact, doesn't he? You forget that he's actually a 6-footer. Like, he's actually pretty tall by running back standards. If Mixon still has it, and I think this is a much better scheme for him this year than what the Bengals scheme evolved into last year. They were in the gun almost all the time in Cincinnati, and that's not necessarily his forte. Mixon is a guy that I on either inside zone or power runs or anything like that, get him ahead of steam and let him use that bulk to come up and blast people in the mouth. And then if Damian can really figure it out, if he really, just in the small sample size that I saw today, looked decisive, made one cut, got vertical, there's no tackling, but almost didn't even have to break any would-be tackles because he was staying vertical as he was making his cuts. It was really good. We've got the guy from Germany that I got to remember. Yes. Feli Yarling. Will Anderson saying JJ could come back. I saw that. I wanted to get back here to do my reaction while things were somewhat fresh in my mind. So I'll do the reaction to the press conferences later. But Will Anderson, who also looks pretty damn impressive physically. And remember we talked about Will last year, where Will had been kind of a jack of all trades at Alabama and had been a linebacker, but also then more of a defensive end as he transitioned into it. But when you looked at Will's body last year, you could see he had room for development. Like, his musculature didn't match his frame, and just the fact that he is psychotic in the weight room. I've seen him work out. So I think that Will, over the course of the next year or two, is going to become a lot more Nick Bosa-like in physique. And I think that's probably a good comp. They're about the same body weight. Will might end up being a little bit heavier than Nick Bosa. Likewise, Nick Bosa he's not like a Danielle Hunter type of athlete, but he's a really good combo of explosiveness and strength. He gets across the line quickly, and that's what Will excels at, is getting across the line really quickly. But then I think there's untapped strength potential there that we might see more of this year. Please hit the like button. They love that. The folks at YouTube love that. Wait until we see Watt return. Let's just not even talk about that right now, okay? Let's not even talk about JJ Watt right this moment, because we all know that if JJ is going to come back, it's best for him and the Texans if it's not until midseason. The guy's had an injury issue or two in his career. He's been out of football for 2 years, a year and a half. Where were they putting the media that you guys can't see the defense? It's tricky. Sometimes you can see it and sometimes you can't. They're putting us right there at one end zone, like in the corner of the end zone between the first and second field. But then the players sometimes are standing behind the drill. So you can only kind of see half the field at times, and you got to kind of try to sort things out in the team periods. It's always like, that's the constant battle during training camp. They're not super, super concerned with us seeing every little thing. So they kind of shuffle the drills around to keep the fields from getting worn out. Field looked really nice. I don't know what I said that was pause worthy, but I got you. It's probably happened several times. Okay, how will this new offense fare versus good defenses? Every time we played a top 12 defense in yards given up per game, we lost in the regular season. Panthers, Falcons, Jets, Browns, Ravens. It's a good stat, Brandon. I'm going to copy that for later. Okay, so Panthers and Falcons, I almost kind of look at things from the first half of the season in a little bit of a different eye than I look at things from the second half of the season. I think, to put it very basically and bluntly, when you don't have a rushing attack, you're screwed versus a good defense. Like, they're not, if they don't respect the run, they can get away with playing their linebackers deeper, with playing their safeties deeper, and they can stop it. They can stop the run without having to blitz or loading up the box or anything. And I think it's as simple as that. That's why the run game is so critical this year. That's why I get so excited about how beefy Joe Mixon is and how much crisper Dameon Pierce looked in one day in a very small sample size. But he looks good. It's really, really hard to be a good defense if you don't have a rushing attack to balance it out. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you have to run to set up the pass, et cetera, but unless you're like an all-time great passing offense, and I don't know, maybe this team has the ability to do that with the weaponry they have. Who knows? But the Texans last year couldn't even capitalize on the running opportunities from teams respecting the pass. So usually, if a really good defense respects the pass, but you can run the ball, and even if you're not a good running team, but you can take advantage of those opportunities when teams are backed off and playing conservatively. The Texans couldn't even do that. So that's, to put it very simply, they have to improve the run game. And beyond that, I think a year of evolution of CJ Stroud, the addition of Stefon Diggs, hopefully the health of Tank Dell and Nico Collins, that's going a long way towards it too. I don't mean to act like that's no big deal, but that was basically the biggest deal last year. Tank dusts everybody off the line. Yes. Yeah, I don't read too much into it when guys get dusted off the line, especially, man, 7-on-7 and team stuff and everything this early in camp. Guys are going to get beat, especially when you've got really good wide receivers and you've got a really good defensive back like Derek Stingley, and hopefully we'll see what we have in Lassiter and Okudah. I know Nick this morning hinted about potentially adding to the defensive backfield. Now, that might mean somebody who's already out there. Well, obviously they'd be out there, but I mean, I don't know if the question was being asked in the vein of cornerback, but Justin Simmons is just waiting for the right offer in the right situation. So we'll see. Stingley, yeah, like Stingley on Nico. Well, I mean, it was Nico lined. It was Stingley on the left, and where he always is when he's not tracking people, and it was just Nico's turn to line up out there. So I don't know about necessarily reading up into like who is guarding whom or anything. Tank needs to be on the field as much as possible. Okay, let's see, Daniel. Did I address this already? Was there anything or anyone that showed any reason for concern? I'm going to have an answer for you by this afternoon. And I didn't see anything, but I didn't sit around and talk to everybody afterwards, and I didn't get to talk to, I mean, we were joking early on about, CJ bobbled a snap at one point, all is lost. Various people drop a pass at any given point, all is lost. There's just absolutely nothing with no pads on today that I would have been overly worried about. Somebody had asked, they must have DM'd me earlier about, Dylan Horton. Dylan Horton's on the PUP. So, and I'm just like I did with John Metchie. I'm not going to even think about or worry about whether Dylan Horton comes back this year and plays football. Every single one of these cancer recoveries is different. We've seen some guys come back very quickly. Some guys, it takes them 2 or 3 years to get back to full strength. So I'm not, it feels kind of dirty when you start speculating on somebody who's coming back from cancer. Yeah, not waiting on rookies. I left right after practice so I could come set up for this, and I'll watch the press conference in a bit, but I did see that on Twitter. He said we're not waiting on rookies. Like, you got to get up to speed. D'Amico and Nick have a markedly different attitude than Bill O'Brien did about rookies. D'Amico's attitude, Bill O'Brien said rookies don't know anything. D'Amico what he would say, I think, or I think he might agree with me, is like, yeah, they don't know anything, but that doesn't mean that they can't catch up super, super fast. And, with Bill O'Brien, and you see this with so many coaches in various sports. Yeah, if your expectation is that the rookies are all jackasses, then you get confirmation bias in your brain every time a rookie messes up, and you just keep telling yourself, "Yep, see, can't play him, can't play him." D'Amico takes much more of a teaching mentality to these things and knows that guys are going to screw up and figures out, okay, who can figure it out and not screw up faster than the other guys. Oh yeah, Ali Gay's length. It's a scouting term. He's very long. Why are his eyes so blue? I don't know. In this room, for whatever reason, because it's got like a blue background, and I think because it's dark, this is one of the studios at Sports Radio 610. Nick gave out a Sports Radio 610 shout out. He's besties with Sean and I. Let's see. The Panthers game was one that really surprised me. Panthers were fourth in the NFL in fewest yards given up per game. You know what, Brandon? The thing about that Panthers game, too, remember, there was right about midway through the season, teams were starting to was it the Panthers game before the Bengals game? Teams were starting to jump those outs, those intermediate outs that you'd always see Tank and Nico getting open and grabbing an easy 10-yard reception or 15-yard reception on the sideline. Teams were really starting to play to some of the tendencies. And I think looking back on it in hindsight, I think that was the moment in the season where if you visualize the timeline of the season, I'll do it in mirror so you guys get the right. I'm doing it for you, being empathetic to you. So over here at the beginning of the season, you've got the Ravens game. Bobby Slowick tried to use all the bells and all the whistles and had multiple guys in motion all the time. And it was a lot for a rookie quarterback playing behind an offensive line that had multiple backups and was the first time in that system. And rookie coordinators do this a lot. You can almost set your watch by it. They tried to do too much too soon. So they pulled back and I think just really tried to feed it to CJ and everybody else at a more digestible rate. So as you get over, you see some good stuff in the Steelers and the Jaguars and everything. I think by the time you got to the Carolina game, teams were starting to play tendencies, and they were really starting to pick up on some things. And after that game, that's when CJ said, we got to push the ball downfield more. And they did. They pushed the hell out of the ball downfield. The Jets game, in terms of the bad games versus good defenses, I wish I could excuse that one away by saying the weather was ridiculous, but I did also watch Zach Wilson have statistically the best game of his NFL career. Zach Wilson. So, and it wasn't windy as much as it was rainy, and the wind tends to affect it more than the rain. So, and obviously there are offensive line issues in that game. That's why Quinnen Williams was able to slam CJ's skull up against the side of his brain. Excited about today. Thanks for making content through the dry season. Landry and I were actually talking about this today. Like this last month, man, there was no appetite for anything. Like Landry or I or Cody would put out a good video. I'm like, oh, I feel good about this. Crickets, internet crickets, except for a lot of you, the names that I see consistently. But it's there's nothing going on in July. Excited about Scruggs and Patterson no longer being rookies and maybe Kenyon Green breaks out. Yeah, Kendrick Green, I'm also very intrigued by because when he was a center his rookie year, he was awful in Pittsburgh. It was some of the worst play that I can ever remember consciously watching before having to turn away. And then they didn't play him at all 2 years ago. Last year he comes in, plays 3 games at guard, and I thought he did way, way better than I thought he would. But he's built like a center. I think he's I think he might be listed at 6'3", but I think he's shy of 6'3" on the dot. He's got short arms. Like he's not built like a guard. So we'll see. And this might be a better scheme for him too. Pittsburgh at the time they were not an Arthur Smith or Bobby Slowick style scheme. So it's good for us if Kendrick Green works out. Ironically enough, though, if this scheme is good for Kendrick Green, then it's very similar to the scheme and the things they'd be asking the offensive linemen to do up in Pittsburgh. So I'm going to get going. I'm going to react to the press conferences. I'll probably do those as separate videos so you don't have to watch long-winded answers about nothing. I'll just pick the answers and replies that I like the most, that I deem to have the most merit, and I'll put them out there. Landry would have just started his live stream a minute or two ago. So if you've never watched The Locker Room, Landry was out at practice today. Go check out The Locker Room with Landry Locker. And please, before you leave, like, subscribe, all of that. I'll have Texans content just about every day, at least once. And like today, probably 3 or 4 times. Thanks, everybody.